Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's lecture on DBMS and structured query language. My name is Sumit Thakur. I'm an assistant professor in Department of BCA at IIMT College of Management. In today's lecture, we will be discussing about introduction to databases, what is database management system, different types of database languages. Then we will discuss functions and facilities provided by DBMS, application of DBMS, and then introduction to structured query language and different commands and syntax in structured query language. When we are talking about databases, first, let's get to the introduction. What is database? A database is an organized collection of data which is stored in computer system and usually controlled by the database management system. When we are talking about data, data is raw facts and figures, which are often regarded as information, which is used for decision making. Now, the data in the common databases is modeled in tables. Usually, when we see the rows and columns, we often regard it as tables. And the data in common databases are stored in the form of tables, making the query and processing efficient. A database can be of any size. It can be small, it can be larger, and it can be of any complexity from lower to higher. A database may be generated and maintained manually, or it may computerized. Usually, earlier we used to have traditional database system which were file-based system, but today mostly we have computerized database management system. Now, what is DBMS? DBMS acts an interface between the database and the user. First, when we are talking about database, it is an interface for operation like creation, deletion, and modification. And it acts as an interface between the database and user. As you can see from the diagram itself, database management system is like an application interface from user between user and databases. Database management system allow user to create their databases as per their own requirement. We can create as per our own requirement, as per the own requirement of the organization. Database management system accept the request from the application and provide specific data to the operating system. It is done by query, SQL, such like structured query languages, which we'll study further. Database management system contains a group of programs that acts according to the user instructions, and it provides security to the databases. It often has many functionalities and many functions, which we'll be studying in the next session. But often we can say database management system contains a group of programs that acts according to the user instructions. Now, when we are talking about functions and facilities of the database management system, there are many functions and facilities provided by database management system, but few are listed here. Let's discuss. First is authorization services. It ensures that only authorized users can access database. That means it also provides the security, and it ensure that only the database administrator and the users who has given access or given authorization can access the database. Then integrity services, which ensures that both the data and the changes to the database follow some certain rules. Concurrency control service, it ensures the database is updated correctly when the multiple users are updating the database concurrently. Recovery control system, it is important when the system faces an hardware or software failures. It restores the database to the previous consistent state following a hardware or software failure. At last, we have user accessible catalog, which contains the description of data items, which can often be regarded as data dictionary. Then comes to the application of database management system, which is enterprise. There are many applications of database management system, and database management systems are used in wide fields, in various fields. And some of the fields which are listed here, such like enterprise, banking and finance sector, university, or we can say education sector, airlines, or we can say transportation sector, and the largest field, which is telecommunication. First is enterprise. In enterprise, we can say it maintains the records of sales, accounting, human resource, which is HR, manufacturing, and online retailers. Then comes to the banking and finance sectors, where banks maintains the customer details such as accounts details, loans, banking transactions, credit card transactions, finance, storing information about the sales and holding, purchasing of financial stocks and bonds. Then we come to the university, which is, we can say, information, or we can say education sector. It maintains the information about the student courses and students which are enrolled in, students information, student grades, staff roles and staff information, etc. Then airlines, and we can say, when we are talking about airlines, we can say transportation sector, which maintains the reservation and the schedules of the different transportations available. Then telecommunication, which stores the prepaid and postpaid bills maintenance, or we can have the customer details and the calling details. Then comes to the types of database languages. There are four major types of database languages, which is data definition languages, data manipulation languages, data control languages, and transaction control languages, which are often regarded as DDL, DML, DCL, and TCL. Now let's study about these individually. First is data definition language. Data definition language, or DDL, is the short name for data definition language, which deals with the database schemas and description. Basically, we can say how the data should reside in the database. It defines the structure of the database. Now, when we are talking about, we have different DDL commands, which are such as create. It create a database and it objects like table, index, views, store procedure, function, and triggers. And it also used to alter the structure of existing database. Now we have a different command, drop, which deletes the objects from the database. Truncate, it removes all the records from a table, including all spaces allocated for the records are removed. Then comment, it add comment to the data dictionary, as we have defined the data prescriptions. Then rename, you can rename the object. These are all the commands which comes under the data definition language, which is used to define the structure of the table or database. Then comes the data manipulation language, which is often regarded as DML, which deals with the data manipulation, which includes most SQL statements which are used as such as select, insert, update, delete, etc. And it is used to store, modify, retrieve, and delete and update data in the database system. There are major commands which comes under data manipulation languages. Select, which is used to retrieve data from the database. Insert, which is used to insert data into the table. Update, which updates the existing data within the table. Then delete, it details all the records from the database tables. Merge, it merge and upsert operation, which we can say it insert or update information. A call to PL and SQL or Java subprogram. Then we have explain plan and log table, which is used for the concurrency control. Then comes the next language, which is data control language. TCL is the short for the data control language, which acts as an access specifier to the database, basically to grant or revoke permissions to the user in the database. Where we have majorly two commands, which is one is grant, which grant the permission to the user for running DML, select, insert, or delete. DML is known as data manipulation language, which we have studied earlier. And revoke permission revokes the permission to the user for running DML command on the specified table. Now, next is the transaction control language, which is the last of the different database languages. Transaction control languages is short for transaction control language, which acts as as a manager for all types of transactional data and all transactions. Some of the command of TCL are: first is rollback, which is used to cancel or undo the changes made in the database. Commit, it used to apply or save changes in the database. And at last, it has save point. It is used to save the data on the temporary basis in the database. Now, when we are talking about what is SQL, SQL stands for Structured Query Language. It is a language which is used to fetch or insert data into the database management system. Or we can say it is a language used in the database management system for fetching or storing the information or data in the databases. SQL lets you access and manipulate databases. SQL became a standard of American National Standard Institute, which is a ANSI, in 1986, and it became the part of ISO, which is International Organization for Standardization, in 1987. Now, when we are talking about database, when we are talking about database, we have a table-like structure in the databases. A database most often contains one or more tables, which are often connected or interrelated with each other. Each table is defined by the name, such as customers or orders, and contains records with the data. Records is a row. For example, we have the fields such as customer ID, customer name, contact name, custom address, city, postal code, and country. And these are what we called as rows of data, which we often regard as records. Now, some of the most important commands which we'll be discussing are SQL commands, which are select, update, delete, insert into, create database, alter database, create table, alter table, drop table, create index, and drop index. These are the most important SQL commands which are used. Select to extract data from the database, update to updates data in the database, delete to delete from the database, insert into to insert new data into the database, create database to create a new database, alter database to modify the database, create table to create a new table in a particular database, then alter table to modify the structure of database or table, drop table to delete the particular table, create index, it create the search key, which we say as index, and drop index and delete an index. Now, first we talk about the SQL create statement. The create statement can use for creating database. For creating new database, following command is used. For example, the syntax is create database name. What you have to write as create, then database, and the name of the database which you want to create. For example, I want to create a database which is known with the name customer. So I will write a query like create database and customers. This will create a database with the name customers. Now, when we are talking about create table command, what earlier we have studied create database command. Now this is create table command. It is for creating new table in a particular database, and the following command is used, which is the syntax will be the create table. Earlier we have the create database. Now we have create table, and then we have to write the table name and all the fields such as any field, for example, last name, first name, address, city, and then we have to mention the data type. Data type can be int, varchar, char, and much more. And you can see an example where we have created a table person with the person ID, which is often regarded as int, last name with the data type varchar with the length of 255. First name, again, the data type is varchar with the length of 255. And we have to end this, and we have to write these fields and data types in the bracket, which is often closed by the semicolon at the last. Now, when we are talking about the insert into, this is the command which used to insert the new data into the table. Now, the syntax will be insert into table name, and then we have to specify the fields and the values. Values means the data which you want to enter, whatever the data you want to enter in the particular field. And it should be aligned with the field which you have mentioned. That means if you are mentioning the column 1, then the value 1 should be aligned with the column 1 field. For example, when we are talking about insert into customers, we have mentioned customer name. Then the customer name will be the cardinal. Then customer contact name. What is the contact name? That is from the Reichen. Then what is the address? That is Skakegen 21. City, that is Stavanger. Postal code we have mentioned, and the country Norway. So whatever the fields we are writing and the values we are giving, it should be aligned. No mismatch should be considered. Now, what is null value? We often see in the database where we mention 0 or nothing. A field with a null value is a field with no value. No, here you have to note a point. A null value is different from a 0 value. That means a 0 is not considered as a null value. Or a field that contains spaces. Often when we mention spaces, it does not mean a null value. A field with a null value is one that has been left blank during the record creation. When you are creating a record, when you are entering to the data, you have left blank that record, a particular field or that particular record, and that is known as the null value. For example, when you have to select, you can select column names from table where column name is null, or select column names of table where column name is not null. You can use these commands to search out the databases for the field, for the records where you have null value or where you have not null values. Now SQL select command. You have seen earlier the select command. What does the select command do? Select command is used to retrieve the data from the database. For example, select column 1, column 2 from table name. This is the particular select syntax is used in the select statement. For example, you can say select customer name, city from the customers. So it will give you the particular customer name and city from the table customer name. And when you select, this is the star, which is often regarded as asterisk. When you write this statement, select star from customers, it select the all fields from the table customers, and it will show all the fields and the records of all fields from that customer. It will retrieve all the data. Strict is used for all data, but if you want a particular field only, then you have to mention the particular field and from customers. Now SQL where clause. The where clause is used for the filtering records. It is often used to extract only those records that fulfill a specified condition. For example, if you require a data which fulfill only the specified condition, and the syntax will be the select command, which was earlier, the select or whatever fields you want from whichever table you want, and then you have to mention where clause and the condition which must be satisfied to get all this data. For example, we are writing select star from customers. That means I have to retrieve the data from the customer table where I have mentioned country Mexico. So it will retrieve all the records from the customer table which have the country as mentioned as Mexico. Now, when we are moved to the next distinct clause. Distinct clause is different from the where clause or different clause, which we can say inside the table, a common often contains many duplicate values. And sometimes you only want to list the different values. It will not show the duplicate values when we use the distinct command. Select distinct, the field names from the table. It will give you only the unique records we have. It will not give you the duplicate values and duplicate records. Thus, you will exactly know how many unique records you have. Now, when we are talking about SQL update commands, when we are created, the update command is used to modify the existing records in the table. We will use update table name, use the table name, whichever table you want to update, and we will set which column values to which values you want to set. For example, I want to update customers and set contact name as Alfred Sumit, city Frankfurt, where customer ID is 1. That means where the customer have the ID 1, I will change the name of the contact name to Alfred Sumit and city to Frankfurt. Now, at last we have SQL delete and drop command. The delete and drop command often confused with each other. The delete command is used to delete all the records from the table, whereas the drop command is used to delete or drop the table structure itself. And the syntax is also almost same, but with a little bit of difference in them. So first, we'll talk about the delete command. The syntax is delete from table name where condition. Example, where we will delete the customers from the delete command where customer name is Sanjay. So we are talking about deleting a particular record where the name is Sanjay, not the entire table, not the entire structure. We just want to delete a particular record, and we can also delete all the rows. That means all the records from the table using the delete command. That is delete from, just we have to write the delete table name. It will delete all the records from the customer's table, but it will not delete the structure which is defined in the DDL command. For deleting the structure or table itself, we have to use the drop command. To delete the table completely, we have to use what? Drop table command, which is drop table name. It will delete the entire structure with the database. I hope you have understood all these elements, all these commands which I have taught you in this lecture. Thank you.